Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. Previously, I shared a story with you all concerning a woman who abandoned her special needs son at a hospital. And as I read through the comments, I saw that a lot of people had compassion on her and had sympathy and felt for the mother. And some, either way it went, they felt like the mother should be demonized. I gave my view on the situation, and my view was that I felt for the child and the mother, okay? Her being in that situation, she said she felt overwhelmed. Okay, so I decided to look up the story again, and there are updates to that story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and roll some video clips, and I will be right back.
First, a mom now charged with child cruelty after leaving her 14-year-old son with special needs at Grady Hospital.
At first, police and the hospital had no idea who the child was after discovering him wandering alone outside. But a teacher who saw our story recognized the boy and then reached out to police.
The mom told officers that she was overwhelmed caring for the teenager and her 3 other children. The story is now sparking a conversation about resources for these families. 11 Alive's Caitlin Ross talked to the 2 families who know those struggles all too well. Caitlin?
In the picture police originally sent to us of the boy, he and his mom, Diana Elliott, are holding hands as she leads him into the hospital. He's dressed warmly and has a backpack, but police say Elliott left him at Grady without telling anyone who he was. Now, she's in jail and he's in foster care. Advocates from the Down syndrome community say they understand her desperation.
Look, you get mommy the picture and you get the book.
At 4.5, Asher is finally learning to communicate with his mom.
Buffos. Oh, thank you.
In his own way. He points at pictures to tell her what he needs.
All I want to do is talk to Asher, and I want him to be able to wake up and say, I want to eat this for breakfast. I want to watch this. I want to play with this, or I love you, Mom.
Just last week, Megan Nash posted on social media about how hard it is to have a child who can't talk to her, tell her how he feels. So when she saw the story about the teen left at Grady, it hit home.
This young man is probably sitting there terrified because he can't talk.
All of her friends who have kids with Down syndrome immediately started talking, not about how what Diana Elliott allegedly did was wrong, but about how they could help her.
From one mom to another, I am grieving for her, and I want her to know, though, the Down syndrome community, we are not sitting here judging. We are standing behind her. We are ready. We want to help.
Thousands of people reached out to see how they could help the family. Hannah Mathis is a foster mom for special needs kids and thinks Elliott dropped her son off at the hospital because she loves him.
Somewhere where he could get care and he could get food and warmth, and there would be people that would be able to look after him. The other options are so sad and drastic.
She contacted DFACS to see if she could foster the boy until the mom gets back on her feet.
And you're not alone, and he's not alone.
The teen is in the state's custody now, but Hannah and Megan think he should be back with his mom.
Breaking my heart that this poor little boy was probably so terrified and confused.
Diana Elliott's court hearing is at 11 a.m. tomorrow at the Fulton County Jail. She's charged with child cruelty.
There are thousands of comments about this story. This child and his family situations really touched a nerve and brought out anger and compassion. This child's mom was desperate. A lot of people are pointing that out. A single mother overwhelmed who couldn't afford to give her children what they need. Judy Rawls writes, I've seen many parents at breaking points. She left him where she knew he would be cared for. She may have been protecting him. But others are asking, how could any mother abandon a child? And they're angry she left him alone, malnourished, found wandering outside of Grady Hospital. Becky Lale says, I think unless you walk in that mother's shoes, don't judge her. At least she didn't hurt him. Debbie Chapman adds, heartbreaking all the way around. I cannot condone abandoning him, but I can accept that she felt desperate. Hopefully, some merciful hand-up solution can be found to get her into a position to support herself and her kids and be reunited with all of them. While the definition of special needs varies, one national survey estimates as many as 1 in 5 children between 12 and 17 may require special care. Advocates say there are resources to help families. Some are even free. The problem is many families either don't know about them, and on top of that, resources are limited. The Down Syndrome Association says there are about 6,000 people on waiting lists for help at this point. We've also had a lot of people asking the question, if safe haven laws apply in this situation. That law allows parents to surrender babies at certain locations without facing charges. Many are wondering if that law also applies for older special needs children. Coming up at 6, we'll explain the law in cases like this and why this mom is now facing charges.
On this Thursday night, a mother is out on bond tonight after the special needs community rallied around her today. Diana Elliott was charged with first-degree child cruelty after she left her 14-year-old son with Down syndrome at Grady Hospital.
Caitlin Ross was in court today as those charges against her were read. She had a lot of support with her there. Caitlin?
There are only 2 benches at the jailhouse courtroom for supporters to sit, and one of them was packed with people there to support Diana Elliott. She had never met a single one of them. Diana Elliott stood by herself in the courtroom today, but she wasn't alone.
We saw the news and our hearts broke, and we had to come and support her.
A group of mothers who have children with Down syndrome showed up to stand behind Diana Elliott as the charges were read. Carla Griffin said it could have been her before a judge in handcuffs.
I did the same thing she did some years ago. I abandoned my son in a hospital for 7 months. There's a wait list that is miles long, and a parent runs out of strategy.
Carla was eventually reunited with her son, John. She knows that's where Diana's son needs to be too, back with his mom.
I would say any individual that's trying to single parent children with special needs, there are a host of challenges, and those challenges can certainly be met with the right support network.
Attorney Brian Gerard drove from Macon this morning to represent Diana pro bono at her hearing. He and his wife have adopted 3 sons with Down syndrome, and he thinks what she needs is support, not jail time.
I've agreed to handle the case because I think there are more constructive ways to deal with Ms. Elliott and the situation she found herself in.
The Down Syndrome Association of Atlanta started a fundraiser for Diana and her 4 kids to get them back together.
People weren't there to condemn her for what she did.
Executive Director Cheryl Arno says their community will come together to support their family. They already have.
And I hope that she feels all the love and support that she's getting out there.
All 4 of Diana's kids are in state custody tonight. She was ordered not to have any contact with them unless it was supervised by the Department of Children and Families. Her next court date is December 26th.
Caitlin, thank you. Since airing the story, so many people have asked if the safe haven law applies to this situation. It allows parents to surrender babies at certain locations without facing any charges. We have the answer for you on 11alive.com. You can check it out on the article, and you can find it on the As Seen on TV section of our new 11 Alive app.
As you see, a lot of people are supporting the woman. She got support in the courtroom as well. A number of people who are walking in her shoes, having children with Down syndrome, because they understand the situation that she is in, rightfully so, they are all standing behind her, wanting to support her and help her, versus demonizing her and taking away all of her children. The woman was living in a hotel, so obviously she is homeless, okay? And so that made it even more difficult for her. And as I looked at her, and a lot of people were making comments too that I think were very unnecessary, saying that she herself looks like she has Down syndrome or some type of mental impairment. That was totally unnecessary. That is the heartless society that we live in today. But for the most part, I've seen a lot of people who shared my views in that although it may seem very cruel for a parent to abandon their child in a situation like this, this mother feeling overwhelmed, having really no place to call home, having a total of 4 children, probably limited resources and a number of different things, she did the best that she could do, which was take the child to a safe location, being a hospital. Now, in terms of her not taking the child on the inside and just kind of dropping the kid off and walking away, there's a number of ways we can look at that too. One way is she was probably afraid that if she went inside, someone would see her and notice that she is walking away without the child. So there's a number of different things that was probably going through her mind. It was a panic decision, no doubt. It was an unsure decision. It was a fearful decision. If you put yourself in her shoes for a moment, there was probably a lot going on in her mind. Okay, and so for those of you who had compassion for her, good for you, because I too had compassion for her. But at the same time, I looked at that child, that innocent child, and I said, he's got to be feeling really frightened and afraid and alone. But I think the situation calls for help. Thankfully, a lot of people who live in that area are stepping up. There was another woman who did something similar. Well, actually not similar. She did the same thing. She left her child at a hospital because she knew he would get help there, but her and her son were reunited. There were resources provided for her to be able to take care of her son. And so hopefully the same thing happens in this case. Now, I want you all to notice too that it was people of all racial backgrounds who stepped up to help this woman. Okay, she was a black woman, but there were people of all racial backgrounds who had compassion for her. There was another woman who even offered to foster her son until she's able to get back on her feet. There was an attorney, a white attorney, who stepped up pro bono to give her services, give her representation in this case. And so I'm so glad that all of this help is coming for this woman. There was another case where a father abandoned his son, and black man. He abandoned him because he thought he was gay, but it was roadside. So there's a huge difference here. One took the child to the hospital, and one left the child roadside. That's a lot to think about right there, family. I'm not going to get into the male and female thing, but you can do with that information what you will. I'm done with this story for now. I hope things work out well for this young woman, because you can see the fear in her eyes too, you see. And some people will never have sympathy for her, but I'm thankful for the many who do have sympathy for her. Okay, with that, family, I will say shalom. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.